Book Launch Like a Pro, How to Launch Your Book for Minimal Cost and Maximum Exposure. This section is about putting your media kit together and getting it up on your website. So the sole purpose of selling yourself to the media is to provide the media with bite-sized chunks of information about yourself and your book. This is not investigative journalist. The journalist is not going to seek you out to get this information. I just want to make that really clear. These people don't go and find you for an interview. You have to spoon feed it to them. They have deadlines, they have articles to write, and you are not a priority for them. The key elements of your author kit are going to be your author bio and photo, awards, reviews, relevancy, press contact details, sample interview questions, press releases, events and speaking engagements, and social media. And we're going to go into each of these in detail because remember, those guys aren't going to go out and find you. You want to make everything as accessible as possible so it's easy for them to write an article or do an interview with you. The author bio on this venue is going to be a little bit different than the ones you've done in the past. What it probably will most closely resemble is the one that you use to set up your Amazon profile. So the one that is on Author Central. You're going to want to state your name, you're the author of whatever genre of books that you write, and then your book titles afterwards. I did a little sample here. Juliet Dillon Clark is the author of Author Self-Help Books, including, and then I didn't want to put the long names of my book here, but then you would go ahead and name your books. I started out writing mystery novels, so part of mine would be something like her books are beautiful depictions of how she remembers life growing up on California's Central Coast, because I was writing period mystery pieces of, long ago events. So this can kind of sound a little bit corny. Don't worry about the corny because a lot of what you will put in here is, where you find your inspiration. A lot of people find their inspiration from writing the particular genre that they now write in. So remember that writers are usually and should be avid readers. So, don't feel odd about crafting something that is creative. And by creative, I mean, flowery with words, sounds a little corny, but do tell your story authentically. Your author photos, this is pretty important, so you need a professional photographer. If you are a professional and you have a business, you're going to want to use the same one on your business that you use on your book, so you're easily identifiable. So you're going to be doing some branding here as well. Like I said, journalists are not going to look around and try to find photos of you, so have a couple different images on the website, maybe black and white, change it up to some color. One thing you need to have on hand is one that is in deep 300 DPI. You need this because if someone does a print article or something where they need that kind of resolution, it needs to be there. For the web, if someone's doing a web article, they can just pull a 72 DPI, but make sure that you have both formats available so that there is a choice for the journalist. Reviews and awards. In this section, you're going to want to take any reviews you have from Amazon and put them over here. If you did paid reviews prior to publishing your book that maybe you included on the back of your book or you included in some marketing materials, you're going to want to put those here as well. If you did any beta testing, which I hope you all did prior to reading or publishing your book, then you're going to want to put that information here as well. If you are putting your book in for awards, if you won any awards, runner-up awards, anything like that, definitely share that here. People are more likely to purchase your book if you're an award-winning author. They're going to want to see why you won the award and what was so great about your book. So all that information goes here so it's readily accessible. So, relevancy. You all see the nightly news. Journalists only report on topics that are relevant. So you need to be able to show that you've actually thought about your target market and who your book appeals to. And you need to lay this section of your media kit out so that journalists can clearly see that your book is relevant to what's going on in the world today. That's very important. And it changes daily. So this is something that you're going to have to really keep up. And while I'm on the topic, your media press kit should be updated very frequently. I go back and check mine about once a month because I want to know that everything I'm doing is still up to date. Journalists do not use out-of-date material, so keep that in mind as well. A constant update is necessary. Your press contact details. I know this seems so obvious, but you'd be surprised how many times people forget it or they make the big email mistake. So it should have your phone number on there so that someone can pick up the phone, a journalist can pick up the phone and call you and ask you questions. The other thing that you need to do is your email address. Now, do not use Gmail, Yahoo, any of those services like that. You want to look like a writing professional, and a writing professional has a website. So put something on your website that's very easy for them to click and find this, either press@yourwebsite.com. Mine says info@winsomemediagroup.com, but you want to be able to make it very accessible and look professional. So be sure you have that website up and in place. Sample interview questions. You need to make this really super simple for them. So if you can put some sample questions and answers on, it'll be that much easier for them to pull the bulk of the interview right off of your press kit. So things like, what was your inspiration? Who's your book targeted at? Why did you write the book? A little about, why you wrote growing up, or whatever you want to share and make easy for them, put it on there. Press releases, you probably did quite a few of them, and each one was individually written to target a particular media outlet of some sort. This is not what you want to put. You just want one here, and you're going to craft a generic press release so that there is one there. Events. You always want to have your latest events that are coming up on the page someplace, and that would include speaking events if you're going to be at a book fair, or if you're an expert and you have a business group. One of my clients wrote a book on Alzheimer's and was just at a senior center event, and we got that up on her page. Any place where you do book signings, your launch party, you want to put all these events up so that people can check, and the media can check and attend if they'd like to. Don't go overboard on this. You don't want to look like you're, doing this every single day and just trying to attract them in. Keep it moderate and keep it down to events that the press would actually like to attend. Social media, you want to include all your links to your social media accounts on here. You want to include any videos you've done, and that could be included in social media as well if you're uploading to YouTube. Any podcasts, if you're on iTunes, or if you have the podcast just on your website. Any interviews you've done, make sure that you embed them all here, because that gives them more readily available information to just go to and pull an article out of than having to actually interview you. Some closing thoughts about your author media kits. Make sure you put it in a visible place on your website. Do not make any potential journalist who wants to write an article about you, don't make them hunt. Keep it up to date. That means as you add interviews, as you add books, as you add, whatever needs to be added to it, make sure it's always added in a very timely manner. Go back to the relevancy point in this media kit and keep that up to date as well, because you always want to keep whatever you're doing relevant. It's such a big word these days. You hear it everywhere. Well, that's so relevant right now. So you definitely want to do that. When you're featured in a media outlet like the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times or the LA Times, wherever it is, be sure you put that icon on the bottom of your web page so people can see that there's a lot of noise out there about what you're doing and you're really good at what you're doing. So I hope this helps. Get out there and make some noise.